lot of Joburg, you see two people in Joburg that they're shouting at each other.
Yeah.
But it never really results to violence. So where I come from, when you tell someone, eventually someone is going to be stabbed and eventually someone is going to die from that. Like, unfortunately, like, I'm not promoting that violence, but I never thought you would interview me when I first saw you.
Is it?
Yeah, I met you in May 2019.
Yeah.
When I met you for the first time, I was meeting everyone from Massive Metro, the radio station, for the first time. It was my second day in Johannesburg. And I just remember that you were just such a cool person because whatever happened to my phone, I needed to Uber. And you Ubered for me and I paid, obviously, but like I was like, damn, like who can I ask to Uber for me and request on that day? And I was living in Centurion. The trip was like 250 rands at the time as well, you know, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm impressed with you and also Offensive, the man behind the camera. Like, you were the two people that I was impressed with when I first came to Joburg. And that's why when I eventually started idiskiTV, it was natural for me to work with you. And then maybe a year after we started idiskiTV, Offensive joined us when he was retrenched from Massive Metro, you know. So, like, literally you work with the people that you had a good vibe with because everyone else was aggressive. So everyone else was like, yo, who are you? And stuff like that. So for me, I will never forget that. Like that May 2019 meeting you, getting to know you type of thing. So I never thought that one day you would even sit down and be interviewing me. That's crazy.
It's crazy, actually. But when you obviously, Cape Town and Joburg are two different places.
Completely.
You know, when you look at the violence in Cape Town versus in Joburg, it's
not the same, actually. It's weird because people in Joburg are aggressive.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know, they're bluffing. I think a lot of it is bluffing. A lot of Joburg, you see two people in Joburg that they're shouting at each other.
Yeah.
But it never really results to violence. So where I come from, when you tell someone, eventually someone is going to be stabbed and eventually someone is going to die from that. Like, unfortunately, like, I'm not promoting that violence, but like, that's why I'm so, like, I don't like to kabana with people because I know, like, it usually ends bad. So I come from a township called Nyanga in Cape Town, and like, yo, the level of violence there, bro, like, is ridiculous. You know, I coached someone who ended up becoming a serial killer. So when I was 22 years old, I started coaching. I was the secretary of my football association. I started owning a club with someone else. You know, so 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, like that period of my life, I was dedicating to coaching football. So every Saturday I would be coaching kids, playing football. And every Tuesday I would be in meetings as a secretary of my football association. We had like 30 clubs and there were 2,000 kids playing every weekend. Generally speaking, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there'll be 1,500 to 2,000 kids playing. And, you know, there was so much gang violence in there. One day, so let me tell you one story. One day, I was coaching an under 14, a group of 14-year-old boys, some of them 15, 16.
Yeah.
And it was a Sunday. And these boys are playing, and I get a message. Someone says, and the kids will be the first to notice something, and they will tell you some shit is about to go down. You know, hey, tangocha, kaliwa. And then I look at the gate. I saw like 6 kids with pangas and knives.
Sure.
You know, and they're waiting for 2 of the players that are playing for my team.
Yeah.
And this is under 14, so there's 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. It's not like older guys, older boys. But then I was like, shit, I have to work out because the match is going and we're playing. I think we won 2-0, whatever. And literally, you have 15 minutes before you see dead bodies. Like, as soon as that game ends, you're going to have to figure out whether those boys play and finish that game and then jump a fence whilst those boys are looking. Because if they jump a fence, which is away from where they're supposed to be going, the gate is the other way, and we're going home to KTC, which is our township. And these guys come from a different township. All of them are like 16, 17-year-olds with pangas. So I didn't make a decision. So we didn't make a decision. What happened was, so the match ends. I didn't make a decision, and I remember this, and I knew that day that I was going to die, but it was many other days I felt like I'm dying. Today, it was one of those. So the game ends and we pack up and they take off their kits. And you have a bunch of 20 kids. Many of them are 12-year-old, 13-year-old, so we can't get them involved in that shit. They just want these 2 kids. They were because they were fighting. They were always like fighting at the graveyard. There's like a place, we're not far from Nkululeko, and there's a graveyard where at night they always go there and they gather. There's like 15 of those other ones and 20 of the other ones.
So it's a young gang.
Yeah, exactly. And then they fight and they stab each other. So whatever happened there the night before, it's built over to this, which is now a crescendo to my involvement. And it's like, fuck, whatever the fuck you were doing, we didn't know, because I would never take gang kids to a match because I know that that's the hot spot. When you're playing a game, all your enemies will know that this is where you at in this moment. They know, someone will tell them that there's the guys that you're looking for, they are here now at the stadium at this time. So it crescends into this, and then I walk. So I didn't make a decision, and this is weird. I said to myself, okay, this is it. Okay, we're doing this. Man. So I approached the kids at the gate, right? And then what I do is I make myself as a human shield between those kids and the 2 kids that are mine. I said to them, let's walk, get behind me. And then I told the other ones, like, because there's a bunch of 12-year-olds and it's not safe. It's unsafe to have them involved. I told them, you guys go first. You have to go. Jeez, and then they left first, you know, and they got to the gate, blah, 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 blah. Of course, some of them were looking because they want to see that there's going to be violence. Yeah. So as we approach the gate, it's between me and them. I think maybe the body language, I bluffed at that time because maybe I was 25, 26-ish. That's 2015, 2016. And I bluffed and I'm like, damn, I'm bigger than these young niggas. They're going to stab me. I'm probably going to die, but let me approach them like with the aggression of, okay, this is it then. Yeah. You know? So and the police station is literally like maybe 50 footsteps from where all of that shit went down, but the police never really come out whenever there's something going down. Yeah. So I approach them, and as the closer I'm getting to them, the more they back up. Yeah. And then it gets to a point where the ultimate thing is like literally, it's me, 2 of my kids who I didn't know were gangsters, but they are, and then it's them. And those kids literally just confront me, and they come to me and they talk shit, and they have these knives out, and I'm literally just.
Do they have guns or something?
They have knives. Yeah. If they had guns, they would fucking kill me. But I didn't care. Like I was like, damn, I took these kids. Like, so you take responsibility for the kids that you take to the stadium. Yeah. But they play for your club. They have their cards. I mean, some of the kids I was protecting, I would have known them since they were 9, you know, but you're just not aware that they do some gang shit or they're getting into it and they're stupid enough to go to the stadium after getting into that shit. So I literally just went to them like this and I spoke shit. I was like, what the fuck do y'all niggas think are gonna do? But it was in Xhosa, like I was saying shit, you know, and those kids they were ready for it. Fortunately, I bought these kids behind me enough time so that then they ran away. And then fortunately, because people are coming in and out of the stadium, because I'm the secretary of that association at the time, a bunch of older niggas will be like, what the fuck is happening here? Blah, 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 blah. And all of that. And those kids are scared enough because like, it's like crowd is starting to form and everyone knows me. Like, cause I'm the secretary. Like I make sure that this team plays against this team at this time. I organize certain things for the association. So I was fortunate that a couple of older players emerged from nowhere. All of them, some of them half drunk. They were just moving around because it's like closer to the shops as well. They were moving around doing their own business. And then this happens where they're like, because I had already decided that I'm going to be brave, but it's bravado. Like it's fake bravery. Yeah. I'm going to be like, what the fuck y'all niggas want? And I did exactly that. And then they retreated. They took a few steps back and then the crowd started to form and a few people that know me, you know what I'm saying? And then those kids, like, they ran away and my kids had already run away from that. And that, I remember going to work. I was working for Sokala Duma at the time. And I remember the next day feeling like, damn, it's one of those days where I could have died. Like there's so many other days where I felt like I could have died. But then the first thing I did, because you have to be responsible when you're taking other people's kids. So my football club had like close to 100 people that were playing for it. The older guys, the juniors. So it's like under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18. So each division would have like close to 20 kids. Yes, and then the older guys, maybe 25 kids. So you have like over 100 people playing for your organization, and there's like 30 different organizations, like football clubs, at amateur level there. So I went to the parents of those two kids. I think there were 3 of them actually, but one of them was missing from that, because I had to ask them, like, is there anyone who was involved in this gang shit so that we never have to go with you guys? So I explained to the parents that you can't allow your kids to go this way or that way. I explained them, like, which location not to go to anymore. Don't send your kids to buy electricity here because they have enemies there. They won't tell you this, but the last thing you want is to have to bury your 14, 15-year-old kid. So that's like one of the gruesome stories that you come away with from those townships. But it gets worse. There was a guy that played for my club. His name is Luto. He died. But this guy, so when I was 22, I was starting this football thing. Now, I'm young, like I'm very young. I'm still learning myself. I'm still confused as well. You don't really know yourself really. But then I knew that I just wanted to do something for the community, whether it's doing football, whether it's teaching people. I was involved in a lot of organizations at the time, community radio stations and all of that. So as I start this football club, as I start joining it, because it was already in existence, it's an amateur football club. Most of the kids from my hood are playing for it. There's a player, his name is Luto. He plays like every other player. He's still in high school at this time. He's very nice and sweet. Like, he's a very sweet young man. And I think maybe the age gap between me and him is like 4 or 5 years, but it's just that I was a leader to a point where even the guys who were 35, 40, they would look at me as like an older guy because I'm their coach. I'm running that club. I'm also the secretary of this organization, which is the football association, the Nyanga Football Association. Maybe fast forward 2 years from me first meeting him and him playing. He can't play for shit. Like, he's a weak football player, but he's always there in training, and he's very sweet and he's very nice. I think his domestic situation was not cool, meaning that he probably didn't know his parents, and maybe he was living with his sister. I got to know this later on as he became a serial killer. He plays until maybe he's 21.
So from a football player to a serial killer.
Amateur football is like, we organize ourselves as a football association so that every Saturday, Sunday, and Friday, football matches are being played. And there's a league that starts in March and it ends in November. So literally every single weekend, there's something to be done by every team. And then there's tournaments in between there as well. So that's how it works. It's not like it's professional, but it's rigorous enough that you have like 30 matches that you can play over a year. And maybe 40 with tournaments or 50 with extra tournaments that you play. So most of these guys, to keep themselves fit, they're still young, they're in their 20s. It's either that they continue with that, or bahlale kasi. And in kasi, people drink. Like, you can age 10 years within a year just by sitting in the hood every Saturday and drinking and literally surrender yourself to hopelessness. Yeah, well, so it's always like that choice between doing that or have a job that demands you to work every weekend, or join a football club. That's pretty much the thing that most young men would join. Yeah. So when he's 22, Luto, I start hearing that he kills people. And I don't understand.
Imagine your homie, like, you know a guy, and then all of a sudden you hear rumors that this guy actually kills people.
And the way that I hear it is hilarious as well, because they whisper his name now. I'm like, word, like, you whisper this nigga's name. Because whenever I meet him in the street, even during this period, he likes me because I was an important figure in his life. Like, I believed in him. I remember the first time I played him in a football game, the other guys were laughing because they know he's weak. But I was like, damn, this nigga trains every time. He's committed. And I think he was doing grade 11 or grade 12.
Let me give him a chance. Yeah.
And he plays. Yeah. And it's shit as well. Like, he's not a good player, but he just plays. It's like, I know that we're not going to be promoted to become a professional team. I see the bigger picture. It's like, because sometimes you can have good players who don't train. So your choice is, do you play them to win a game? Most of the time you do that. But sometimes it's like, nah, man, it doesn't matter if we lose. But the guys that are always dedicating themselves to training, they need to get a chance as well. Because it's not a professional setup. Yes, we pay affiliation fee. I think it was 2,000 or something like that at the time. But it's like the bigger picture is that everyone who's dedicated, who comes every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to training. Friday we don't train. Sometimes Monday we don't train. Every time, everyone who's dedicated to this, just give them an opportunity to play. And the guys were laughing when he plays. So now I hear that people are whispering like, yo, Ovilo Luto. Like, I'm like, why are you whispering this guy's name? Because I know him as a goofy kid, like a guy who's like, he can't even play football.
Yeah.
But then it gets scarier because I hear the things that they say it does. Like, he goes inside a shebeen and he sees a bunch of niggas with their alcohol. He takes it with maybe 2 or 3 of his friends. If any of you get up, he shoots you in the head and they leave you there. And he continues this. That's why I'm saying serial killer, because it goes on to a point where it's like maybe over 20 people over a 6-month period die. With different beefs, like something that's innocuous, like you have your phone, you have your bread, on the road you're walking because this is your street, and then unfortunately, wrong place, wrong time, they take your shit, and most of the time they would kill you. Jeez, and then it gets worse because we have Somalians, just like every other South African township, who runs spaza shops now, and they start something called a protection fee there, and in my township. Whether it started with them, I don't know. Maybe they would have heard it somewhere else. Uguti is something like that, because I know that in other gangs, it exists in the Italian mob. It exists as well. It's a protection fee. You have to pay them so that they can protect you, even though there's nothing to be protected. So they start that, and then there's like rival gangs who also want that money, right? Want in on that money. So now they start killing each other. It becomes so rampant that you can't look at him any other way other than being a serial killer. And every single time I used to see him, I would be smiling and he would be smiling, hey, Tango to grand. Yeah, grand for it. Sure. And I never had any fear. And I felt like at the time I felt like even if I would walk in on him shooting someone, I'm like, yo, I know you. Like, you're a bitch ass nigga. Like, you are killing people, but you are a bitch ass nigga. Like, I know you and I like you. I like you as a bitch ass nigga, as a goofy dude who's not dangerous. I don't know what happened to him that made him become dangerous. But I think as I heard his life story after he was killed, because eventually you get killed as well.
Yeah.
People are looking for you. Is that I think maybe he didn't grow up with his parents, or whatever the case may be. So I think maybe you grow up with resentment when you like that, when you feel like the world is deserting you. You're trying, you go to the school route, you never become a thug until you get to grade 12, but nothing happens for you. You don't get a job.
Do you think maybe he was forced to join a gang?
I think the circumstances, lead you to that point. As I'm trying to explain that, like you're honest, you go to school, you don't steal, because he never had a history of stealing from other kids. When you're a thug, you even struggle to go to school. When you're a thug, like when you grow up in gangs, it's difficult because that's where your enemies will find you. You know, and there's a lot of kids that have been killed just after the school. When the school's out, the bell rings, you get out of the gate, and then your people are there. They wait you. They shoot you, they stab you. They're waiting for you. So he wasn't any of that, So I think sometimes also the frustration comes from, and I noticed that with me when I look at my journey as well, I'm like, damn, why do I have to try so hard? So with some people, their resolve is not that strong and their will is not that strong, that he would have looked maybe and say, why the fuck am I still struggling? I went to school. I don't have a job. I don't have a mother. I don't have a father. My sister is involved in her business, in her own life. My brother, maybe. I don't have anyone. So maybe that's the hopelessness that you get. It's like, I don't have parents. I might as well do this. So that's the level of violence that is involved where I come from. And that's why I respect people when I speak to them. That's why I get a culture shock when I listen to people from Joburg talk shit, because I think the way that they talk, like I think, they sound like they're ready for it. Like, you're ready for things to start, but they're never ready. They're just bluffing when they talk. But where I come from, it's violent. If you look at, Cape Town is literally divided into different sects. There's parts for colored people, there's parts for white people, and there's parts for black people. Predominantly those Xhosa people. I think there's like 2 million of them in Cape Town, 2.5 million of them in Cape Town, and maybe 3 million colored people, and then maybe 1.5 million white people in Cape Town, something like that. But that's the composition. It's like colored is slight majority, and then Xhosa is like maybe 35%, and then I think 40%, and then white I think is 30%, something like that. So also, if you look at what happens in the township, if you got a kid that grew up in Manenberg or Mitchell's Plain, they will explain to you a very similar story. but maybe different characters because it's a colored community, but still it's the same rampant violence, hopelessness, unemployment, and all of that shit. So here, because I came here and I lived in suburbs from the jump, I've never really seen how bad it gets. I know that Alex, you're always told don't go to Alex. I also know that you are always told don't go to town. You guys told me about Joburg, really.
Town is not
don't go to town. So that's like, I understand that because South Africa is South Africa, that there's places with violence, but I don't think it gets as hectic as the places in Cape Town. I think, generally speaking, death is like around the corner there all the time. I remember like when I was 5 years old, seeing someone being stabbed for the first time. When I was 8 years old, seeing someone, like a community, a mob, killing someone. Like literally, like them, like you're still too young to see all of that shit. But it happens. Like the first time I ever saw someone naked was when I was maybe 9 years old, and the community was I think they were necklacing someone, they were killing someone.
Yeah.
You know, with the tire, burning him.
And all.
Yeah, they were shambocking him, burning him with the tire, and he was completely naked. You know, and I noticed that. I was, damn. And you notice certain things, like when you're a kid as well, you're 9, and you see someone being burned to death.
Literally on the street.
Yeah, because they did something to someone. Maybe they were trying to steal something.
Yeah.
And also, you see when you're 9 that, oh, their penis doesn't look like your penis. Those are the other things that you notice as well. Because when you're a kid, so with us Xhosa people, you get circumcised when you get to a certain age. Yeah. And I was like, why does it look different to mine?
To mine, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was 9 and he was a man in our world.
You Xhosa. If you don't go to the, I don't know what you guys call it.
Just say the mountain.
The mountains, basically. What do you call it in Xhosa?
Ulwaluko. Initiation.
So when you go to initiation schools, what happens if maybe you don't go to initiation schools?
Well,
do they call you a man, or they just say,
Yeah, that's a good question. So I understand that, you see, Xhosa people have the mistake of thinking that they have ownership of initiation, like circumcision or manhood. There's different interpretations of manhood with different cultures. I got to understand and learn as I got older and meet other people that there's an idea of initiation in Tswana. There's an idea of initiation with vendors and different tribes. So, but then here's what's different. What's different is that it's not that much consequential whether you go or not go. So where you from in Amanskrau, you might find people that went because they are Tswana or they are Venda or they are Sutu. But then you could not have gone, for example. But then there's no consequences between the two of you because you live in a, I would say, multicultural community where in Amanskrau, people speak Tswana, but they happen to be Tsonga, they happen to be Tswana, they happen to be Venda, they happen to be Pedi, for example. So there's no consequence. But then with us, it is consequential in the sense that if you don't go, there are spaces you cannot enter if you don't go. That's number one. Like if everyone knows in the township that you are not circumcised, then you cannot, like there's a ceremony every other weekend. Someone saying thanks to their ancestors, maybe someone else, they're getting married or whatever the case is.
Can't the family maybe keep it a secret?
Well, you could do that, but then there's a way of, so as Xhosa men, we have a way of greeting each other that establishes whether or not, what time is it. You feel me? We have a way that we figure each other out. And also, when I was a kid, there was this woman who always humiliated his boyfriend. They're older people, like maybe they're in the 40s. But this woman, every time they were drunk, he would always say this to the guy,
husband,
you know, his boyfriend. It was older as they are, maybe husband, but it was his boyfriend. She would say stuff like, Lendole, you look at a and she would say it out loud. You know what I'm saying? And what it means is that she's humiliating him for being circumcised at a hospital. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand how she got to know that, or, you know, so she would literally, she understood the power of knowing that about him, and she would use it against him whenever they're fighting and they're drunk and shit like that. And she knows what she's doing. She's literally putting that man in a corner. Whenever there's Mcimbi, he can't be there. Or if he's there, he's gonna be humiliated and sit with the boys, which would be anyone from a 5-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're like 50 years old, you would sit with boys. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they view you. So with us, it's more consequential because there are different ways of finding out. Of course, ultimately, the way of finding out is to look at someone if it gets to that point. But of course, that's kidnapping and violation of my rights. So people don't really do that, but they would literally just castigate you. And also, predominantly, we all grow up in the same township. We will know, like, so there's many ways to figure the shit out, because we will know that when in the period between you being born and live in this township and maybe up to the age of 30 years old, we've never seen you wearing a certain attire for 6 months or for a year. You know what I'm saying? Because
So
when
they
we're
know,
young men,
yeah.
you will see, like, through his dress code, and then other young men, Amakwala, will figure that shit out. Like, they will see through your dress code, and then they will use their own language, their secret language, to say, yo, to teach each other and figure each other out. But for the most part, really, you can't get away with it. That's why, like, I was speaking to one lady who, she's Sutu, but her child is like Sutu and Xhosa.
Oh, okay.
And the father is Xhosa. And I said to her, whatever you do, you are not going to have the male experience of this kid. So she was saying to me that she doesn't want, because there's always reports on the news that initiates with it died this season, 40 of them died, and so on and so forth. And I can understand, like, from her, the woman's perspective, and as a parent, she's concerned, and she's like, I can never allow my child to go there.
Mr. Nkewu, I actually wanted to ask you, when you guys go to the mountains, initiation schools,
you're not allowed to ask too much shit. Like, I've already shared enough. No. I've already shared enough.
I don't want to know what's happening. I don't want to know.
No,
what's
I've already shared enough.
I just want to know before you go. I just want to know before you go, not what's happening. I know that that is not allowed.
Experience
I don't want to bump into guys who are Xhosa at the mall. They're like, yeah, Steezy, yeah, you.
No.
Australia or that side.
No, you are going through a stronger experience in this world, so there's nothing I can tell you that's going to be beneficial to you. So
I just want to know, because for us as Tonga people, we actually wanted to ask you, at what age do you guys go? Do you have a specific age? Is it 20? Is it 25?
Between 16 and 20. Eastern Cape people can be crazy sometimes, so they will take 14-year-old boys to go there. But I think conceptually that's even stupid, because a 14-year-old boy can never be a man, because that thing symbolically is about becoming a man.
Okay.
You can never teach a 14-year-old boy to become a man, even if he tries and pretends to be. His size is his size. If he's fortunate if he's 14 and is like maybe 5'10" or something, he's big, but still, he's still a kid in his mind. He still says mama to someone. And think about it, like a man saying mama to someone. Although that happens a lot in places like Kuguletu, a man saying mama to someone, a 35-year-old man. But that's ridiculous. So, but Eastern Cape, generally speaking, they are the ones who push the boundary to, like, 13-year-olds, certain places in the Eastern Cape, not all of Eastern Cape, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. I've seen men, I was with men that were men when they were 14, when I was in initiation. They were telling me stories about how they got there when they were 14. And I'm like, it doesn't even make sense, because I was 19 turning 20 or something like that. I was somewhere around that age when I was there. So that's the age cap, but we're done with initiation. But I don't want people to be talking to me about this nonsense.
Man. So anyway, you are in Cape Town. You work for Sokala Duma. At some point, you thought of Idiski. I'm sure maybe at the time you didn't think of the name Idiski, but you had the idea.
Yeah.
Can you please take me through that?
Okay, so I was working with Jason Aker. You know Jason. That's my partner at Idiski for life.
Yeah.
Until we sell our shares, of course. But that's a story for another day. All jokes aside, I was working with him. He gave me a job, basically, at Sokala Duma. I was working at a call center, and then he gave me a job. Fast forward, you do like 500 soccer players interviews, you win awards, you do well at Sokala Duma, and then he comes to Joburg to work for Massive Metro. Now that's a play. That's a play that we play. It's like, strategically, this is what we're going to do now. This is the next step for us, because we were working for Sokala Duma as employees. He had started the idea of Sokala Duma Radio. They took it as Sokala Duma, but they never gave him a share, even 30% nyana. Which when it makes 10 million, they can give him 3 million in profit. They could give him 3 million. They gave him nothing, because he did it when he was their employee. And they took it as like, this is our thing. And it's now a failing thing, I think, really, to be fair. When I was there and I was the voice of the thing, it used to be very dope. Like, people would, I this is the first time I got, maybe after community radio station. This is the first time where I got people from outside the Western Cape.
Okay.
Knowing you, like sending you Facebook requests and sending you messages, say, oh, I was listening to Sokala Duma radio. I like what you do, blah, 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 blah. So we did that. And then the play was, so Tyron Willems, the guy who started Massive Metro, he would come to Sokala Duma in our offices in Cape Town, and he would come there, talk business, and then he wanted us to deliver news, football news for Massive Metro because they didn't have a sports section. So it's a young radio station with celebrities, Abozola, DJ Sbu, Tembisi at the time, and they needed someone to cover the sports, but they didn't know where to go. So Tiff already had that relationship with people at Sokala Duma. So basically I would record the sports news and then I would send them to Joburg and it would come here, someone would clean it up and then play. And that's it. Like that's where the relationship started. Yeah. So 6 months. So in 2018, I'm 28 and Jason is maybe 32. And then he comes to Joburg. He's already from here, but he's a Cape Townian really for all intents and purposes. He grew up here. He comes here, he works for Tiff, and then the plays that I will follow at some point. So I literally hang on there from October 2018 to May 2019, which is like a 7-month period. I hang in there, get paid, do my job honestly, and then in May, officially, I negotiate to get a salary and come and work here. Ideally, what we wanted to do was to come here because we had then a wider scope of clubs to work with. Different football clubs in Johannesburg, Orlando Pirates, Chiefs, Sundowns. Whatever we're going to do in football, we were going to have a better working environment to interview players and stuff like that. Start websites, you know what I'm saying? So we did exactly that. We started idiskiTV. With you. You were the first person that I shot videos with. But then every time you start something, you need proof of concept. So what that means is that by the time you go and pitch it to someone, you need to show them, this is the thing. It's much better to have an idea and show it to someone and say, this is the thing that I want you to invest in, than talk about a fucking idea with your mouth. Wow, I have this idea. I hate that. Like, yo, go and do it. Do it on your own. Have the numbers, prove it, and then show the investor, this is the thing that I want to do. 100,000 people have watched it. It costs us 200,000 per month to do it. We don't have 200,000 per month. We can give you 50% of it, and then you can commit to pay 200,000 per month until we get sponsors. Whether that's in 12 months' time, you would have spent maybe, 2.4 million in 12 months' time. That was a play, and then we approached Tyron Willems, the owner of Massive Metro, with it. So with you helped me go shoot Gert Skalvik, Junior Kanye, and we did Jabo Pule Matlangwe as well because we were working with them, right? Lerato Shabangwe. At some point we did it, but we already had done Idiski with Lerato. But at the beginning, the first 2 videos, Gert Skalvik in Klerksdorp, you remember? We even took the company card and we bought McDonald's on the way, and they were complaining about it, and we didn't have money.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was crazy. Yes,
and so Skalvik and Junior Kanye. So this is me and my experience having worked at Sokala Duma to say, I'm deliberately choosing these 2 guys because I know that people are curious about them. What happened to Junior Kanye? What happened to Gert Skalvik? And then we shot them, we upload them on YouTube. At the same time, I'm learning YouTube, like how to headline, how to do this, how to tag, and all of that thing. So for 2 months, I was watching videos for 2 months, whilst on the other side, we're shooting. And we're trying to get a car to go and shoot these guys. We did that. We did Junior. I think it got 200,000 views eventually. Yeah. The encouragement got when we started getting 60,000 views or 20,000. I was like, oh, this thing is working, right? And then Gert Skalvik, I think, got eventually 60,000. And then we had a concept. Then I took like maybe a few videos. I asked you and I asked Offensa Piliahai there, who's sitting there. And I said, I gave you 500, I gave him 500. And I said, go and shoot people, ask them these questions. You were asking, Itumele Nkune bullshit. It was something like that. I can't remember. Is Rulani Mukwena the right coach for Pirates? Some stupid shit like that. But I wrote it down. I said, you guys must ask people that. Put it up there. 4,000 people watched that. I put yours, I put his up. You guys had separate videos. That's further proof of concept. Like, oh, okay. And there's people commenting and they're watching. And you guys were just interviewing random people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fans. And you were asking them these questions, and I wrote 5 questions for each of you. Now you take all of that, it's 4 videos now, and it's a total of over 400,000 views maybe. And you take it, you go to a potential investor, say, we don't have the money. If we had the money, if we were coming from money, if Jason and I were coming from money, we would have implemented it, would have started idiskiTV. But we started idiskiTV in that sense. You had to be paid, Junior Kanye had to be paid. I was still working for Mesa Metro, so and you also were working for Mesa Metro. I had that salary from there, so I was like, I'm not gonna get paid. We started shooting at stadiums, if you remember. Go to stadiums and stuff like that. Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns. How or why? Because I worked for Soccer Duma and I saw these are the teams that people are interested in. That's it. I'm not gonna dilly-dally. If there's another team, maybe Amazulu, let's say, if they could have 100,000 people willing to watch their videos, that's my new focus. I will go there and cover Amazulu matches. And if Swallows has 100,000 people that want to watch them, you go to Swallows. It's as simple as that, as simple as mathematics as that. And that's why sometimes when you look back, your journey is not coincidental. I had to go to Soccer Duma. I had to go and work in a football environment with the biggest newspaper in the country so that I could understand and I could develop even the contact list. Like my contact list has 1,000 people that I've ever interviewed, over 500 players and some fans and some coaches. I had to go through all of that. I had to understand, how do people in football think? And I had to understand the fans side as well. Are they interested when you tell them that someone has died from a club that they don't care about? And look at the views, because the views will tell you whether or not they're interested, you know. And are they interested in a player that plays for Kaizer Chiefs, but he hasn't played a single game this season? You know, so you need that foundation to understand the football fan and understand the numbers as well. So that, and then that's how it informed what we watched. Which teams we went to follow at the stadium. But that's like literally the foundation of Idiski. When we made the play with Jason to say, look, you go to Joburg, I'll go 6 months later. We could have gone at the same time if the opening was there. But you go to Joburg, figure this thing out. He comes here, he figures it out. He knows who's who. And he also has a good relationship with Tiff, right? And we were lucky because we would have been fired. By the people who were running Mesa Metro, I would have been fired long time ago because I stood up for myself. I didn't do whatever everything that they say I must do. I had questions, but fortunately for me, I had the boss of that company on my side through Jason. And Jason, whatever beef he would have had with the people who were actually running day-to-day Massive Metro, he would have been fired a long time ago, but because he had Tiff on his side.
I could have been fired a long time ago too.
There you go. Because we had that person on our side, you know, the actual owner of the business on our side. So with all the mismanagement that was happening and high attrition rate, I've never seen it. I come from a call center. I've never seen such a high attrition rate, the rate at which people are being fired. Like every month there's like 3 people fired. Every month there's like 4 people fired at the time, you know, and those were maybe the foundations of the falling of that company, you know, because it was such a promising idea to have so many talented people. I saw you guys and I saw even the celebrities that were there and I saw the potential for it, the radio potential for it, the being on taxi ranks every day potential of it. And I saw it, but I saw the management, the running of it. I've worked with you for close to 4 years. So with us for close to 3 years, Junior for close to 4 years, as well. And everyone we've worked with, we have had a cordial relationship with. But when I saw Massive Metro, like every single month, there was like someone or 3 other people being fired. So yeah, it was important also to learn that, actually. Important for me to be at Soccer Duma, important for me to be at Massive Metro. Like just to learn, okay, this is the way not to do it. Even when I spent some time doing some work at ETV for 6 months, which I was lucky because I was working with William Lehong. And I did that for 6 months, just going there. I was trying to see, okay, how many cameras do you need to run a TV show? Who is here, but it's unnecessary for them to be there?
Did they pay you?
They never paid me. but they pay the
6 months, Mr. Nkewu.
But look, I was on TV twice a week, which is not important now.
Yeah.
But obviously. I was on TV twice a week.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying to you, like, I was learning, like, how unnecessary some of the people that are there for, and what would I do when I'm doing TV. So we can do a TV project. In fact, we're trying to do that, a TV project. And it will kick ass because of all those experiences of knowing who's who and what you need to do a successful TV show.
Clean. I wanted to ask you, do you think there's money to be made on YouTube?
Damn, like the market is getting saturated on YouTube. Almost everyone is doing YouTube. I was happy for you when you started Justify because there was a different angle to it, and I think you're going to maintain it. I spoke to you about it. This idea of driving with someone and talking to them. I think that there must be a unique selling point. There must be a reason that's slightly different from the other, from doing a YouTube channel. So with Nkululeko and Culture, I thought my unique selling point would have been the actual conversation itself. But I do think that there's a lot of us doing the same thing and speaking to the same people, and sometimes it's totally coincidental, like totally coincidental. But I always just had this trust that the conversation that I'm having with this person, the person who's watching will not get it from anywhere else other than here, right? So that's like my unique selling point. But I completely understand that, well, in order for the person to appreciate the conversation, they need to be enticed to click on the conversation in the first place. And when they see all of these podcasts having the same thing, or YouTube channels having the same style, same concept, maybe they might be demotivated. And I think that I've said this before, that I think eventually people will settle for the ones that they like, which will probably be like 10, 15, 20, and then the other thousands of them, they will be just be there, and predominantly they will just die within the first 12 months because they will realize that it's not motivating. But there is money to be made on YouTube. When you're innovative on YouTube, I told you about the other idea that I had that's literally similar to Mr. Beast. Maybe that will take a back foot at some point. If I have like a lot of money, I will implement that Mr. Beast thing. And South Africa is very big. I'll go to different places, give people money with different challenges. And I think that that's a unique proposition to the South African market. You know, I think you just need to have a unique selling point. There's space though on YouTube for people to watch what TV doesn't offer. So there's something called Ulu no Malume. It's MDM sketch comedy. It's a kid with his uncle, and they speak Zulu. Yeah. And they have like different things that happen. You know, it's a sketch comedy thing. Where malume? Where's Hani malume? Oh, malume ngana mali. All of that stuff. And people are watching. And it's very fun. It's like 15-minute episodes, right? And that's that. And then there's others that are also like, they are film type of thing, film, and that's what Offense Mwase is doing as well. Yeah. It's like literally just a drama for 10 minutes. I think that will kick ass, and it will continue to kick ass because most of those kind of episodes are timeless, and especially if they're creative, people want to watch that. It's like literally you can start a soapy on YouTube with 3 or 4 cameras, a bunch of people, literally create characters where this one is the girlfriend of this one, but they dump each other, and then it goes to the other boyfriend and whatever. Like, you literally script it. There's space for that because the audience retention on those kind of videos is very high. On podcasts, the audience retention is high too, but it's easy for someone to like get bored because you're watching me talking and you talking, and that's the only thing that's going to happen in a podcast. You are talking and me, I'm talking. The only thing that retains the audience is how interesting what's coming out of my mouth is. If it's boring, they drop off. But with Abolu and Abomalume, you're always waiting. You don't know what's going to happen. You're always waiting. Okay, they're arguing, they're in the kitchen, they're moving, they're going to the bedroom, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe after 5 minutes, it's a different scene. They're at the spada shops. Hey, my friend, whatever. Like, you didn't know that was going to happen. Right, so that's why you're staying. So literally from 1 minute to the other, you're being pushed until the video ends. And that's what the algorithm likes. How long can someone be there to watch, and how interested they are in watching, and are they happy? Are they pressing like? Are they commenting as a result of that? So that kind of content will always have space. We're just going to have to elevate the game, of course, whenever we're getting into this. You don't have to always just talk to people. That's why I loved your idea of Justify when it's in the car. That's dope, because actually when you're in a car, people don't have
moving.
There's different things happening, and your guest cannot be closed up. They hardly get closed up because the car is moving, right? And they're talking to you and they might tell you something they didn't really plan on saying. But here, this is comfort. If you're asking me something I don't want to talk about, I can quickly evade the question. But when you're in a car, it's a different mindset. It's a different mood, so that's a different proposition. You interview celebrities in a car. I think that's a good idea. So everyone who's trying to do YouTube, I think it's important to think about different propositions. I'll do that as well. Like I'll do film things, cinematic things on YouTube when I have enough money. If I have the time to do it though, like if I feel like I want to do it. But in my head, I've already written stuff. And also on my laptop, I've already written stuff, like ideas about what do I want to do on YouTube. Like literally, I've written a treatment of like 3-4 pages of these are the characters, this is what I would like to do. And it's very simple actually, like it's very simple. A few cameras, different characters on a thing that plays like twice a week or something like that. It's like an M's and W's and C's type of thing. So you need that now. We need more of that. Or maybe just go to the streets and talk to people about Mujolo. This one of taking people's cell phones and that's
exchanging and all that.
That's a unique selling point. I wouldn't do that shit, but that's a unique proposition. It's dope because then not all of us are doing the same thing.
That's dope, man. Nah, man, good luck. Thank you so much for coming through, man.
Thank you, Chester.
I can see the time is already gone. The game is about to start.
All right.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chester.
Sure.